Hello and welcome back to Defying the Stars Tarot and Astrology. Today we are going to be doing another pick a deck reading, and the subject of this reading is going to be how do I navigate this conflict? This is a reading, again, like last time, brought on by something going on in my personal life, trying to figure out how to navigate a high conflict situation that kind of seems like there is no good answer for. So hopefully the decks can provide me some guidance as well as you. But let's take a look at our decks to see what you have to choose from. Deck number 1 here is going to be our Cat Tarot. It's got many adorable cats for the cat lovers out there. Yes, I have more than one cat deck. No, I'm not sorry. Deck number 2 is going to be the Dali Tarot. It is based on the works of Salvador Dali. It's a very beautiful deck. The third deck is going to be our Modern Witch Tarot, which we used in my last video as well. It has all the modern witches on the artwork for your enjoyment. And the final deck, deck number 4, is going to be our Adventurer's Tarot. It is called the Empress deck, and it has some very cool D&D inspired artwork on it. So take a look at those 4 decks, decide which one resonates the most with you, and then you can look at the video description below to find the timestamps for the reading that you want to hear. After you hear your reading, I would love to hear from you. Comments are not only a great way to support YouTube channels that you enjoy, but they also really help me to know whether these readings are helpful or not so great. And I would love to start engaging with some of you that are watching these. If you want to see more of these videos, of course, I would remind you that you can hit that subscribe button for free and be notified when new videos come out and have them in your feed. But without further ado, I will leave all the YouTube things behind and we can go to our reading. So again, pick your deck and select your timestamp below, and I will see you for your reading. Hello, group number 1. If you chose the first deck, the Cat Tarot, this will be your reading. Again, today we are focused on the question, how do I navigate through this conflict, whatever the conflict may be? I have gone ahead and shuffled the deck ahead of time, so you don't have to listen to me shuffle through the cards and clatter them on my desk. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck and get this reading underway. So we'll deal 3 cards to start with, as is my usual practice, and then we will jump into any clarifying information. So our first card is going to be the 3 of Wands. The second card will be the King of Wands. And our final card is going to be the 6 of Pentacles, or 6 of Coins, whichever phrase you like better. All right, so right off the bat, I am seeing a lot of fire energy here. The 3 of Wands, the thing that pops into my head when I see the 3 of Wands is stop, collaborate, and listen. For those of the older persuasion, you may know what I mean. But the 3 of Wands is inviting you to look at collaborative action. 3s are always about harmony, about groups, about doing things in concert with others. And fire being the action-oriented element, this is especially true for the 3 of Wands, where we are looking at, okay, how can I work better with others to achieve what I'm trying to do? This card may be inviting you to ask, is there more that I could be doing to resolve this conflict? Is there more that I could be putting forth? In the words of Taylor Swift, paraphrased anyway, could it be that it's you? Hi, you're the problem, it's you. I'm not saying it is, but this card invites you to consider that possibility. Consider the possibility that there may be better ways of working with whoever you may be having this conflict with. Sometimes it's not so much about right and wrong as personality styles, different ways of looking at things. And maybe if you can try to share the perspective a little bit, you can come to something more of a resolution. The King of Wands, however, is very, very strong fire energy. It is the pinnacle of that fire energy. And this card seems to be saying, hey, just go, do it. You know what needs to be done. You are very certain of it. So go ahead, go out and get it done. That may mean delegating. That may mean doing it yourself. The king, obviously, in a royal kingdom in the real world, the king is never going to do anything himself. He's always going to be telling somebody else to do it. So there is an opportunity here, and I think when you combine it with Three of Wands and working together, especially these two cards in concert may be saying, like, hey, maybe stop trying to tackle this all by yourself and see if you can get somebody else to come and help in your stead. Maybe somebody else can take an action for you. This could even be a situation where, like, hey, maybe you need to let a lawyer handle this. It really depends on the source of the conflict and what's going on, whether legal remedy is required. But even if you're not in a legal situation, this could be indicating that, like, hey, maybe there's some worth in having a representative. Maybe there's some worth in having a mediator involved in this. The final card, the Six of Coins, is is a card that talks about material balance, balance in your resources, balance in the give and take of resources. So I feel like that could be a big source of what this conflict is about. Maybe you feel like they are taking more than they are giving. Maybe they feel like you are taking more than you are giving. Um, and it could be as simple as correcting that balance to resolve the conflict. With all of these three cards together, my feeling here is that if you take the time to reevaluate the situation, approach it with a different perspective, um, come at it directly with whether that's through a representative or speaking directly on your own behalf, you may be able to find a very concrete solution to the matter. If, however, you feel like you are in a situation where um, again with the Six of Coins, where the resources are not even, where more is being taken than is being given, this may also just be an invitation for you to stand up for yourself and to say, hey, I've had enough of this. um, I need something to change here. Let me go ahead and grab a few clarifying cards on this issue, because I do see a lot of possibilities here. And, sometimes in these readings where so many people could come to this video and click on this deck and come to it with so many different types of conflict, it is going to be very broad. But I want to see if I can get any clarifying information about what the nature of the conflict is. Okay, so we have the Death card reversed and the King of Cups reversed. So, what I see here in this conflict is that there is a resistance to transition. There is a resistance to an inevitable end. There is a resistance to an inevitable new beginning. That is what the Death card represents. And I love the Death card in this deck because it is a vacuum cleaner for that is death to cats. And the book description of this card in the booklet that comes with the deck talks about whether, you know, how sometimes you just have to get out of the way of the vacuum because it's going to come no matter what. So, in terms of how that relates to this, I could see where maybe you're in a situation where either you or someone else is not willing to face the facts of the matter, who is trying to kind of avoid the ending, as it were, or avoid starting something new because they are clinging to something that has died and they're just not ready to accept that yet. Um, and then when you add in the King of Cups reversed, the King of Cups is the pinnacle of emotional maturity. It is the perfect balance of empathy and reason and calm consideration. And I feel like when it's reversed here, we have an issue where emotions may be clouding our judgment. Emotions are getting the better of us. Um, as someone in a position of a lot of power may be reacting and responding emotionally instead of rationally. And I think that if these two things make sense in terms of your conflict, then what these prior three cards are definitely saying is that if you can tap into this person's emotional state and come to them with empathy and come to them with understanding, it doesn't mean that you have to agree with them. It doesn't mean you have to say, "Hey, man, I know what you're going through and it just sucks and I was wrong about everything. I'm going to let you have whatever you want because you're sad." That's not what we want to do here. What we're looking for is, "Hey, I see that this is a really difficult transition for you. What can I do to make this easier? How can we take maybe some baby steps here? If you're not willing to go all the way just yet, how can we compromise?" And I think approaching it with some empathy will really help this person accept the facts of the matter and get out of their emotional brain and come back into a space where they can be logical and practical with you and can correct whatever imbalance is currently in place. I think that's pretty straightforward for all of its vagueness, but I would love to hear what you think. If you chose this reading, please leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of deck number one. Let me know if it made sense to you, if it resonated with you. If it was absolutely off base, I invite you to go back to the beginning of the video and check in with the decks again and see if there isn't one that is maybe calling you a little more. But I also still want to hear from you. Even if it was a terrible reading for you, I'd like to know what you thought. With that, I'm going to move on to the next reading, but I thank you so much for joining me today. I hope if you want to see more of these readings, you will subscribe to the channel. And again, let me know what you think. Like the video if you like it. I hope you won't dislike it, but I'm not going to tell you not to. And I hope to see you again in a future reading. Thank you so much. All right, welcome to the reading for deck number 2, the Dali Tarot deck. And if you're interested in any of these decks, I will post links if I can find them to the decks below. I'm not sure how available this one is. It was in kind of I got it in a very fancy box, let's put it that way. It was kind of a special edition kind of thing, but hopefully it's still available if you're interested in it. But I have already gone ahead and shuffled the deck, and so we're just going to go ahead and cut it and get straight into our reading. And again, the question that we're talking about today is, how do I navigate through this conflict? This could be any kind of conflict, whether it's, a friendship, a family member, a something broader, a business conflict, a legal conflict, whatever the case may be. So I've gone ahead and cut the deck, and now I'm just going to scrooge it off to the side so we can start drawing cards. So I'm going to begin with my usual practice of drawing 3 cards, and we'll discuss those, and then I will add any clarifying cards as we need. So our first card, let me get it squared up. I would have better parameters laid out for where my cards need to go if I didn't also use this desk for work and other things. So it's always going to be a little, let me get it in the right spot for you. But our first card is going to be the Nine of Swords. Our second card is going to be Judgment reversed. And our third card is going to be the Eight of Wands. Okay, there's a lot going on here. And I mean that very literally. There's a lot of overwhelming feeling in this. What I see from the Nine of Swords straight off the bat is worry. The Nine of Swords to me is just the card of pure anxiety. And usually it is the kind of anxiety that is based on having a million questions running through your head and no answers. When you see the Nine of Swords in a reading, usually it's an indicator that worry and fear are getting the better of you and putting you into a more miserable state than you would ever need to be, really. Um, the Judgment card is you know, judgment kind of speaks for itself. I think that the fact that it's reversed here indicates that justice is sort of delayed right now. You are in a situation where you feel like judgment is due, whether that be against you or someone else. Probably against someone else if you're asking how to navigate a conflict. But it could be that you are waiting for the other shoe to drop based on something that you've done. If that is the case, I feel sorry that you find yourself in that situation. If it's the case that you're waiting for someone else to face justice for what they've done, I also desperately feel for you, as that is something that I experience in my life on an almost daily basis. Being stuck in a high conflict situation with someone that I cannot get away from. Um, and the Eight of Wands is a card of frenetic activity. The eights are always very karmically loaded. Um, Eight is a number that can fall one way or the other. And when you have eight wands in the air, there's a lot of activity going on, and it is very unclear what direction, where those wands are going to hit the ground. So, what I am seeing here is a situation where you feel very stuck and very afraid, and it is unclear how this situation is going to resolve itself. What I don't like about these cards is that they are not giving us a lot of advice in terms of how to tackle this situation. What I would say is that when I see cards like the Nine of Swords, the Eight of Wands, Judgment reversed, what it's usually calling for is patience as things sort themselves out. It usually means that there's not much you can do because this situation is so chaotic and so outside of your control that the best thing that you can probably do right now is take care of yourself and your mental health and do your best to be prepared for the moment when things do shake out. But I am going to ask the deck to give us a little more guidance on what it is that you specifically should be doing. So our next card that we pull out, the Knight of Cups, and the one after that, the Tower. Okay. So these are heavy cards. The Knight of Cups isn't heavy, actually. I shouldn't say that. The Tower is a heavy card, and we'll deal with that. But don't let it scare you. It's not as scary as it looks. Um, the Knight of Cups. Here we have a very Napoleonic figure on horseback marching out with his cup. Um, the Knight of Cups is someone who is ready to go out on a limb. It is someone who is ready to put their heart on their sleeves. Um, but Knights are also about just starting journeys, and Cups are all about emotion, feeling. I think what the Knight of Cups is telling us here is that you can make progress by starting on a journey to help yourself with your own emotional load. Fill up your own cup and go seek that out, because I don't see in this conflict a lot of opportunity to come together, collaborate, resolve the conflict through, a good heart to heart. This doesn't seem like that kind of conflict. And I'm sorry that you're in this situation. It does seem like a situation where you can take the higher ground by taking care of yourself, making sure you have healthy boundaries, making sure that you are being the bigger person, at least in terms of rising above the pettiness that may be entirely justified and very tempting, but it's not going to fill your cup, I think is what I'm getting from this. And when you combine that with the tower is an indicator that things are going to change. Things are going to change in a way that rocks your foundation. And that is terrifying, and I know that. Um, I'm going through a bit of a personal tower moment myself. But the tower card, what it invites you to consider is, how can I take back the power in this situation? Because something out of your control is happening here. But the thing that you can do when the tower is coming is you can decide, am I going to fall from this tower, or am I going to take the leap? And when you choose to take the leap instead of falling wherever the tower shunts you out, you can maybe choose where you land, or how much the how much you feel the impact. You can choose to jump to a softer landing spot than the tower might otherwise choose for you. The crux of this reading for me is that there is not much that you can do to alleviate this situation, to expedite this situation. It is going to be whatever it's going to be. You are in control of one thing, and that is yourself. And you have the ability to, again, do whatever it is that you need to do to fill up your personal cup, to feel emotionally fulfilled, to feel emotionally stable, to protect your own mental health. And you can choose to proactively decide, if this tower is crumbling, okay, this is where I'm going to jump to. So it's a heavy reading, and again, I feel for you who chose this reading if you're going through anything like this. Um, but I hope that guidance helps, and I hope that you can find the inner peace and serenity to carry you through. I'd love to hear what you thought about this reading. Please feel free to leave a comment, whether it was great or terrible or somewhere in between, didn't make any sense at all. I'd love to know. And if you are in need of further guidance, I would invite you to subscribe to the channel so that you can get future readings and join me when I start doing live streams. I will be doing live readings at those streams. And Anyway, I hope that everything goes okay for you, and I hope to see you again. Thank you. Welcome to the reading for deck number 3, the Modern Witch Tarot. I will put a link to this deck on Amazon in the video description if you'd like to explore it further. But jumping into our reading, this is a reading about how you can navigate through a conflict in your life. I have gone ahead and pre-shuffled the deck, so all that's left is to cut it and start our reading. So we will see what's going on here. Move her off to the side, and we're going to start with 3 cards. That's my usual practice. Love the number 3, nice and complete, beginning, middle, end. And then we will draw further cards as the situation calls for to get clarification. So our first card is the 5 of Pentacles. I apologize, my camera's having a little trouble focusing, but that looks better. Our next card is going to be the Devil card. And our third card here, the Hermit. Okay, this is an interesting set of cards here. So trying to understand how we can navigate through a conflict. The 5 of Pentacles is a card of feeling left out, feeling like you are put in a position of scarcity, going without, feeling left out in the cold, as you can see by these poor shivering ladies. The 5 of Pentacles usually comes with it a sense of maybe a little bit of regret of poor choices leading to really uncomfortable consequences. Um, when you pair it up with the Devil card, it's easy to put Judeo-Christian mindset onto this card and say, "Ooh, devil bad." Um, but it's really more about that shadow side of things. It's about temptation. It's about um, deceit, um, misinformation, things like that. And then we have the Hermit card, which is about taking some time, some quiet, some solitude, withdrawing from the world to do whatever it is you may need to do, whether that is personal reflection and growth, healing, whatever the case may be. So, what I see here is that what we may have is a little bit of a conflict of your own making. And I don't judge. I don't judge. I don't know what's going on. And I could be wrong. I can always be wrong. But what I see here is a situation where maybe a mistake has left you feeling like you're on the outside looking in. And I think that sometimes in those situations, our impulse is to try to fix it, try to win people back over, try to smooth it all over so that it's all okay again. And I think that the Devil card here is reminding us to check our instincts and to check and see, are we listening to our better angels or are we giving in to our darker side? Your instinct may be to put on a pretty face and try to smooth everything over, smooth talk your way through this. What I'm getting from the Hermit here is that it may actually be better in this scenario for you to take some time, give anyone else involved a little space, and work on you for a little bit. If you have done something that you regret, the best way to show in good faith that you are going to change your ways is by showing that you are taking the time and effort to get yourself right. Um, it may just be because I have intimate relationships with people who have dealt with substance abuse, or because I was just listening to trial coverage of a case that involves a DUI. But the thing that's really coming to mind for me is a situation where, like, maybe you were drinking too much and you did something you regret, and you are battling with yourself. Is it, do I really have a problem? Can I just say I'm sorry and try really hard not to do this again? Can I just, smooth this all over and it won't really matter? And I think that there may be a part of you that, if you're here listening to this, I think that you are already wondering if that's really what you should do, or if it's time to really reevaluate your behavior, reevaluate whether it's time to get some help. Because addiction is it's a real thing. It is a physical chemical process in the body that it it can't just be overcome by willpower alone. It takes support. It takes somebody to help you get your mind right at a minimum, because your mind is going to be lying to you if you are dealing with an addiction situation. Your mind is going to tell you, I can handle this, it's fine, we really need this thing. And everyone who's telling us that we need to stop, that we can't handle this, they don't understand how much we need this thing, and they just don't believe in me. Whatever the case may be, your brain is going to tell you everything in the book to try to convince you that you can handle this yourself. And to a certain extent, you can view that as the devil on your shoulder trying to tempt you to one side. But you don't need to listen to that voice, and you don't need an angel on the other shoulder, because you've got that guide inside of you. And that guide is saying, maybe it's time to take a break. Maybe it's time to work on ourselves. If you're not dealing with a substance abuse situation and you're here listening to this reading, I apologize for how deep I just went into that, but I felt like somebody maybe needed to hear it. Whatever the case is here, whatever it is that has left you feeling like you're on the outs, what this reading is telling me is, hey, it's time to focus on yourself and less on trying to repair whatever has been done. Let me get a couple more cards just to see if there's anything more we can add to this understanding, um, because I feel like I've gone pretty deep in a few directions. But okay, we've got the Star reversed, and we have the Five of Cups. Okay, this is a lot of confirmation that we've got a mess of our own making here. The Star is I love that it came up right after I was talking about you having that guide within yourself and not needing an angel on your shoulder, because the star is kind of your internal compass. It's your North Star. It's your guiding principle. It is that purest instinct toward what you need to follow. If we were talking about an astrological natal chart, I would say this is your North Node. Um, the star here reversed tells me that you are having trouble connecting with that inner guide and that inner source of guidance, and that sense of having your true path. Um, all the more reason to take some time as the hermit and see if you can't find that again. And with the Five of Cups here, the Five of Cups is so much a card of regret. And with this particular version of the card, all I can see right here is the person looking at the spilled cups, and they are ignoring the two filled cups behind them. That is one of the quintessential things about the Five of Cups. And it's funny that I use the word quintessential because that means five essences and Five of Cups. Um, one of the quintessential things about the Five of Cups is that it is a card of getting so focused on regret that you are ignoring what is still available to you. This situation, whatever it is that you're in, it may end up being for the best long term, because even though you have spilled some of your cups right now, you've lost something. I do not deny that in the slightest. But what this reading is telling me is that it's not time to focus on trying to regain what you've lost or reestablish something that's been broken. It's not time to clean up what you spilled. I mean, yes, clean it up, but it's not time to try to get what you spilled back in the cups. That's just not going to happen. You can wipe it up with a rag, you can throw the rag in the laundry, but you're never going to get what was spilled back in those cups. What you do have the opportunity to do is take the cups that are still full and focus on them, nurture them, help them grow so that you get your five cups back eventually. In a nutshell, this is a really important time to work on yourself, focus on the positive, focus on the good things that remain in your life, strengthen those things, lean on those things, and really build up your own resilience, your own, I'm not even sure what word I want to use here. Really just tap into your own truest self. Try to tap into that North Star within you that's going to tell you what's right, what's wrong, what is best for you, particularly because sometimes there is no objective right or wrong. There's just what's going to work best for you and what isn't. So take some time to think about those things. Just take some time for deep reflection. Take some time to let the fallout happen. Let it be, let it settle. Let the dust settle. That's the terminology I want. Let the dust settle before you try to jump back into anything. Because trying to go fix everything right now, trying to sweep the dust that's settling under the rug is just going to take you down a path of either repeating the same mistakes or or repairing a relationship in a way that it is just going to be it's not going to be strong. It's going to be fragile. It's going to be built on sand if you try to repair the relationship without working on yourself first. That was a lot. I know that pieces of it may not resound for everyone because I did get very specific for a while. But I would love to hear your thoughts if this was the reading that you chose, um, how it resonated for you, whether it didn't resonate for you at all. I'd still like to know, and I would appreciate your comments. Um, if this was helpful to you, I certainly hope to see you again in another video. But with that, I'm going to wrap it up, and thank you so much for being here. Hello, welcome to those of you that chose deck number 4, our Adventurer's Tarot, the Empress deck. This is not a traditional tarot deck, so I'm going to be reading it more intuitively. But if you're a big fan of adventure RPG kind of things, I think you'll enjoy this. But today's question is, how do I navigate through this conflict? And I have already pre-shuffled the deck, so we're going to cut it and get straight into it. Put it off to the side so that I can lay down our first 3 cards, as is my practice, to start with 3 and then get clarification where we need it. Okay, so I'm gonna scrunch these up a bit. All right, our first card is the Fighter, the third card in the deck. Very interesting. Um, our next card is going to be the Two of Humanoids, and our third card is the Three of Elementals. Now, getting into the more intuitive reading because, you know, we're basically just free associating with this deck. The Fighter, here we have an orcish fighter, um, heavily armored, big sword. So this is very much your traditional fighter, maybe even a paladin sort. It's the third card in the deck in traditional tarot. That would be like your emperor, I think. No, the emperor's 4. 3 is the empress. Um, but ignoring the correspondence there, this is someone who is very strong, very, very physically capable, but maybe not always the most emotionally or mentally acute person. And I'm not saying this is you or someone that you're in conflict with. This is just the associations that I pull from the idea of the fighter. But personally, I associate the fighter with someone who they go off to battle, they do what they've got to do, they make the sacrifices that other people have a harder time making, and they do it so that those other people don't have to. Um, I feel like this is a good indication that maybe what you're dealing with is you feel like you are trying to protect someone. You are trying to prevent something worse from happening to somebody else. Or you are trying to prevent something worse from happening to you. You are in a defensive, protective stance. With the Two of Humanoids here, humanoids in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, for example, humanoids are kind of the great equalizer. They are not particularly gifted at any one thing. The notable thing about making like a human character in 5e is that like you get a +1 to all of your ability scores instead of at least in 2014 rules. I don't know if they've changed that. Instead of getting like a +2 to one thing in particular and a +1 to something else. Um, Humanoid, so that idea of somebody who is very level, who is very much moderate, who is not somebody who stands out or has one particular niche. What I'm seeing with that and it being the Two of Humanoids is either you or somebody else in this situation is playing the mediator. You or somebody else in the situation with you is trying to be the level head and is stuck between two opposing forces. You have, you know, it reminds me of when I was a kid growing up and my parents would be fighting in the car and I was in the back seat as an only child just trying to like figure out what is it that I can say or do to make the fighting stop. That's what I'm getting from the Two of Humanoids. It may be that you are trying to protect this person who is trying to be a mediator. It may be that you are playing both of these roles in this scenario. It could be that you are being the protector or the aggressor as the fighter, and what you really need to do is be more of the mediator. All of these could be possible, and I think we're going to need clarification. Let's get into our third card, which is the Three of Elementals. This is very clearly a water elemental. The the idea of an elemental is that it is raw energy. It is Um, it is from another plane. It is its own thing. It's it's not unnatural, but it is not necessarily nature itself. It is nature distilled down to its most pure form, which is not how nature presents itself necessarily. You don't get pure water out in nature. You get water with a bunch of dirt and leaves and uh, creatures and things in it. It's not distilled down, right? Water's always associated very closely with emotion, with empathy, with compassion, with that emotional intelligence aspect of things. I feel like the combination of I feel like the combination of these cards indicates someone that is torn between the impulse to be aggressive and protective and fight, and someone and the other impulse of being compassionate and trying to talk it out, trying to feel it out, trying to appeal to someone's emotions to figure this scenario out. Let's get a couple more cards up in here. Uh, okay, we've got the Three of Dragons and the Three of Giants, but that one's reversed. Okay, so the thing about dragons, we're seeing a lot of threes in this array. We've got the Three of Elementals, we've got the Three of Dragons, we've got the Three of Giants, we've got the third card in the deck of the Fighter. Three is all about harmony. It is about collaboration. It is about finding that it is the first, what's considered the first full, whole, complete number, because you need a set of three to be complete, to have your beginning, middle, end, so to speak. Um, all of these threes are telling me that this is a situation that would benefit from more collaboration. Whether that is possible or not, or entirely within your control, is another question. But I am sensing that it is calling for collaboration, for overcoming kind of those baser instincts. And I'll tell you why here. The Three of Dragons in their mythology, there's a lot of different mythology in dragons, but I'm going to stick with fantasy RPG dragons because that's what this deck is based on. Fantasy RPG dragons, yes, they're big, yes, they're strong, yes, they have massive weapons, but they are also incredibly intelligent and incredibly capable of finesse in terms of social navigation, in terms of finding the best route, finding the best strategy. They are incredibly, some might say conniving, but that has a bit of a negative connotation. But I would say it's not always a bad thing. If you are able to really assess and analyze a situation and see the most direct path to where you're trying to go, and be able to or the path of least resistance. I don't want to say the most direct, because the most direct is always just barreling on through, but the path of least resistance, the way that you can kind of turn here and there and get through it without taking on personal harm or risk. So we have that Three of Dragons, which is telling me, collaboration, using your gifts, using your incredible mental capabilities, knowing that you have strength and physical ability and reserve, knowing that you can always go back to aggression if you have to. And then we have the Three of Giants reversed. Giants in the fantasy RPG mythology are very primal creatures. They are not so intelligent. They are not necessarily very charismatic. They are very blunt and brutish. They carry a big club and they throw big rocks, and that's how they figure their stuff out. And that's not always a bad thing. But here, because that energy is reversed, what this is telling me is turn away from the aggression, turn away from that impulse to put up a big wall or defend your territory, because there is a space for a middle ground. There is a space for collaboration. You just have to give it a chance. Um, and I know that's easier said than done. I know that's super scary, but the cards are saying that this is probably the clearest reading that I've seen today. So um, I think that it's good advice to go on, if you ask me. But I would love to hear from you. I would love to know how this reading resonated with your situation. If it was on point, if it was kind of murky, if it was completely off base, I'd like to hear about it. So please leave a comment. If this was helpful to you, I would love to see you in another video, and I would invite you to subscribe so that you don't miss it. But whatever you do, I hope to see you again, and thank you for joining me for this reading.